Audio tape began its life spooled onto a reel, and in that beginning time, magnetic tape in this format was called reel-to-reel or open reel format. Well, anytime that you have tape in a linear format, it's going to have reels involved. In fact, this is a VHS tape that's been opened up, and of course, inside the VHS tape are reels. Well, the only difference between this reel and the audio reel that you saw a minute ago was you didn't have to deal with it in a cartridge format. Everything happened automatically. Well, there was a time when video formats had reels and you did have to deal with them. And I'll show you what that dealing was like, because I'm about to show you a reel-to-reel videotape recorder. On the left, a VHS tape with reels inside, and on the right, the reel-to-reel tape format known as the EIAJ-1. For short, well, that's the short. For long, it's the Electronic Industries Association of Japan 1 format, EIAJ-1. So there was an actual industries association from Japan that invented this format, and I guess they couldn't think of anything else creative, so they just named the format after their group. So as you can see, quite a bit more tape, and the tape moves at a lot faster speed. This here, just to compare size, almost sits right in the middle of that tape. But do notice there is something in common between the two, is that the tape itself is the same width. So this format came out in the 1970s, and the machine that I'm about to show you doesn't even have color. It's black and white. Later, there was a format of the EIAJ that was color. Of course, VHS is color, but the system we're going to look at is black and white. So let's take a look at this gigantic beast known as a VTR, or videotape recorder. And here she is, the Panasonic Tape-O-Vision NV-3020 videotape recorder. And of course, it's in a giant suitcase box. Of course, that makes it portable, right? You could just put this thing in your pocket and take it with you. Well, only if you want to have a hernia by the end of the day would you want to take this around with you. But anyway, before we get inside of it, let me show you the jacks on the back. On the back here, you'll see your traditional audio inputs and outputs, mono of course, and your mic input over here. And then you have these two UHF coax input and outputs for video, and video in and video out. And then you have a TV monitor output here that was used like in a studio, TV studio, that kind of connector there. You have a place to put in an RF modulator right there. Your power cord hooks here, and then you have two unswitched outlets so that you can plug your camera into the back here and power your camera from the outlets on the back of the reel-to-reel. On the side, we have some controls here. We have a tracking control with the auto setting being on the far left there. We have a video and audio level input setting, so you can do those manually. You can switch them into auto by switching the selector switches above those, and you have a TV camera source mode switch. And then down at the bottom it says if you pull on or push off, it turns the motor on and off for the unit prior to you actually engaging the unit for recording. We open up the top to reveal all of its pure awesomeness here. You have the place for your supply reel, your take-up reel. You have your video head here, or drum. So this is a rotary video head inside of here. You have your erase head for the video, and you have all these guides where the tape has to be wrapped around. You have an erase head for audio and your tracking, and you have your tracking head and audio head all in one on this one. Your capstan your controller. You have a really ugly audio dub and record button here because the little metal caps have fallen off. You have your controls here, so you have rewind, stop, play, still, and fast forward. And you have some indicators over here on the right, and those will tell you whether or not your audio and video settings are set to manual or auto. And of course you have a tape counter right here. Over on the left, last but not least, is the audio level meter and the power on and off switch. So you may be wondering, how in the world are you going to get a video signal off of those big UHF connectors? Well, I went to a local electronics store, a mom and pop store in the St. Louis area, and I found this cable. I was going to make one, but I actually found one that was completely ready to go. I couldn't believe it. This was labeled as a computer monitor cable. So apparently, back in the day, there was a personal computer system that used these two plugs in order to display the video from the computer. So it must have been a really old computer system, but this sucker was brand new in the box. I bought two of them for $5 each. So, and of course they're gold plated, so I could melt them down and turn them into jewelry later. But okay, probably not. But anyway, that's the video connector I had to have. I'm about to show you why video cassettes came to be. It's because this is a pain. Let me show you what a pain it is. So you start over here on the left, and you put your tape around this first spindle, wrap it around the front of the video drum, wrap it around the second spindle, give yourself a little slack here, and then your tape goes around to the reel over on the right side, and you got to put your finger on the reel here, pull the tape through, and once it catches on the side here, then you are good to go. And I don't want the tape sticking up there on the side. So, okay, so there we go. I am now threaded and ready to go. And I can turn on my unit here, flip it over into play, and off she goes. So now I am playing my VTR. If I want to fast forward, I can go to the still setting and then hit fast forward over here. And then if I want to play again, I can play there. Go to stop, go to rewind. Now this unit has a little bit of trouble with rewind, so I kind of help it along a little bit. Probably need some new rollers. So let me give you a little bit of background story on this unit. I actually found it at an antique mall and paid way more than I normally pay for electronics when I find them in places like that. But in any case, bought the unit and it worked out of the box. I mean, it powered up and spindles moved and so forth. However, it has needed a ridiculous amount of tweaking to get it to work as good as it's working now. The control board in it has had all the capacitors replaced, so that part is nice and healthy, but it still has quite a bit of trouble tracking, and it doesn't record well at all. So there are some of the issues that it has out of the gate. But I have had this thing completely taken apart, and I replaced a belt that goes over here for the tape counter, but everything else inside is as I found it. So let's go ahead and power up the monitor that you see there on the left of your screen, and I'll play a little bit of footage that I found on one of these tapes. So it is like a time machine. We're going to go back in time and see what it was like to record off television in black and white.
Shelby. How'd you do it, Joe? Last time the golfer got drunk and started teeing off, it took 3 of us just to get the club away.
Maybe I just happened to hit him the right
Please,
day.
just be quiet. This has to be said now.
She's not responsible.
I am responsible. That's the whole point. I said something was wrong long before our parents died. And their death just gave me a way out, a reason to protect him. I guess I needed that reason because I love him so much. Oh, Wayne, tell them, please.
Janet, what the hell are you trying to do?
They pampered you, and then they turned around, and
Janet!
they turned around and they neglected you, and you hated her for it. You hated Mother especially. You loved her, and you hated her, and now you hate all women. Oh, Wayne, you raped Susan.
Janet!
Dr. Wells.
Preparation H. In many cases, Preparation
American Dream, an elegant, durable plush that comes in 15 lush colors, and Footlight Supreme, a nylon pile pattern carpet treated to resist stains. Save 20 to 40% on lots of other favorite styles right now at Sears' favorite carpet sale.
Avery called. Hubbard just gave the DA Trent's statement admitting the rape. Evidently, Janet persuaded him to sign it. He'll be sent to a diagnostic facility before sentencing.
Does Susan know?
Yeah, I told her when she called and asked us to stop by.
Okay, now we got the poltergeist screen for a second here because I wanted to explain what's going on in the next scene. So apparently this VTR was owned by a guy who had like his own little portable studio set up in his house. Well, not portable, but I guess a studio with, it kind of looks like a garage or a basement or something because there's all this equipment around. But in the next few scenes, you're going to see, well, we'll just go ahead and get it rolling. You're going to see some actual footage of this machine being played in its original glory. Now, you may be wondering why I haven't adjusted the tracking control. Trust me, I have spent way too many hours on this thing trying to get the tracking to be perfected, and this is the absolute best I can get it. Now, some of you guys out there may be technicians who repair this kind of stuff, and if that's the case, hey, I'd love to send this to you and have you fix it, but I'm just not an expert in fixing old dinosaur VTRs. But yeah, here's original footage of this actual unit being filmed of itself, and you can see the caps are back on the record and the audio dub button. So there's the machine again, playing in the background there. And every once in a while it clears up really good, and you can just see everything perfectly. Looks very nice. And then it's intermittent with really, really awful footage, as you can see there. And of course, static almost continually up here at the top of the screen. So it could be bad video heads, or it could be something wrong with the actual mechanism inside, or electronics even. I've had quite a bit of luck playing around with the belt. This thing has a belt on the inside, and it's actually the video head itself is belt driven. So here we are looking at this guy's little studio setup here some more. Oh, that looks like an old antique telephone they're looking at there. And you can see the image quality of his camera is really, really primitive for a home-based video camera of that time period. Not real sharp. And of course, next to all the static, makes it even worse. And I'm not sure why it's giving it a blue hue to the whole thing either, but so again, we're looking at some more footage of that awesome antique telephone. So if any of you guys watching this out there have any ideas as to things I could do to fix this machine, I would certainly appreciate your advice and definitely take it to heart. There was like 28 caps on that control board in there. It took forever. So here we got another telephone. Looks like somebody's old rotary telephone there. And break. And now we're looking at a map of some sort. Can't tell if it's a map or maybe a globe. Like I said, every once in a while it clears up nicely, and you can see it in all of its black and white splendor, or blue and white, as you are seeing on your screen. I'll move the camera back just a little and see if that helps any. Nope, still blue and white. So again, this machine came out in the 1970s. I think the machines themselves came out in the late 60s, but carried into the 70s as the technology improved. And then formats like U-matic came along, and of course color versions of this format. And now it looks like Mary Tyler Moore. No, that's not who that is.
You still think you're the dynamite kid, don't you?
There's nothing wrong. Don't you like that song, Georgia?
But I don't. It's corny. Just because you put up a buck for a song, I'm supposed to...
No, I'm not supposed to do anything. It's your life.
So before I let you go here, I thought it would be interesting to take a VHS tape and play it through this machine and see what it looks like. So we'll try that here in a minute.
Well, they've been pouring it on me over there.
So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this machine as it is in operation. So I'm just going to pan around here from the take-up spindle through the mechanism here. You'll see the audio and control track heads there. Wrapping around the rotary drum here. One of the things you will notice is that the supply spindle sits up a bit from the take-up spindle. So we're up here for the supply, and we're moving down a little bit for the take-up. And the reason is because the video head is not tilted. So on modern VCRs and other helical scanned videotape and audio tape equipment, the video head is turned sideways. Well, in this case, it is not. In this case, the tape itself is stacked so that it wraps around and starts up high and ends down low. So kind of a strange engineering marvel right there. So now I'm going to rewind the tape, and I'm going to go ahead and feed some VHS tape through it. Of course, it's not going to work, but it'd be kind of fun to see it, what happens anyway, right? Now, before we do our experiment, keep in mind that VHS tapes runs much slower than this tape does. And I have never done this little experiment before, so you're going to see it with me live. So I've got my VHS reel here, feeding through the machine and onto the take-up spindle over there. And like I said, who knows what's going to happen. So here we go with our experiment in VHS playback on an old reel-to-reel machine. And looks as though nothing's happening. Now my monitor here won't play anything unless it sees a video signal. And of course you can see on the screen over there it says no signal. But my audio meter here is turning slightly, showing something there. Tell you what, let's hook up a separate audio amplifier and we'll see if we get any audio that way. Well, there you go. We're getting some audio at a very, very fast pace. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this amazing overview of the Panasonic NV-3020 open reel tape recorder on the EIAJ-1 standard. And again, there's other standards of this VCR videotape recorder out there, and the tapes are not compatible with each other if you happen to be a different standard than the EIAJ-1. But I hope you enjoyed this. Please share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And stay tuned. Coming soon, I'm going to have a video about a film strip projector that mates an 8-track tape with 16mm film. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching.